Hey, welcome to another episode of The Visible Entrepreneur. Today, I wanted to take a step back because I think that there's a lot of misconception out there about what visibility is and what publicity is. They are different, and I think in today's world, it's just all kind of blended into one pot. So I thought today's episode, I could break it down for you so you could understand the difference and also see some key mistakes you might be making that you can correct so that you're actually seeing ROI with your visibility strategy and your publicity strategy. Ready? All right. So there is a huge difference between visibility and publicity. They are not the same at all. And if you still aren't quite aware of what it is, you could be suffering from a couple of things. It could look like sporadic social media posting, unfocused publicity campaigns, just kind of avoiding everything at all because you don't know where to start. All of these are usually indications that you're not understanding what to do when. So in this episode, I'm going to show you the difference so you can make your visibility and publicity strategies work for you to get a really great end result because it needs to be done in a specific order for you to achieve that. So before we talk about that, let's talk about the 3 biggest mistakes you could be making, and then I will show you how to fix them. Ready? So the first one I hear a lot is, I'm just posting everywhere I can and occasionally landing press. I'm just staying afloat. I'm just letting it flow. Right? Even though this is a strategy that a lot of entrepreneurs choose, even ones that are well known, it doesn't mean that it is effective. This is usually more of a survival mode strategy, and you're just hoping that you stay popular enough long enough to keep that stuff coming in. It's like, for example, working with different actors and actresses that their show was really popular and they thought that that would continue forever, but then they had a hard time getting work and they weren't really noticed after that popular show was done. So we have to keep a very steady visibility and publicity strategy so that we can continue in that growth mode and not accidental, posting and featuring and stuff. So usually when people say this to me, they're usually in total burnout. They're exhausted because they're working in their business instead of on their visibility and publicity strategy. So all of that tends to simmer on the back burner. The social media posts are very random and inconsistent. And so the following isn't really growing in any consistent way. Neither is the revenue unless they're putting in additional hours to do like strategy calls to bring in more clients. So any hope for going into publicity territory with guesting on podcast stages and publications is kind of laughable just because there's no time. And more importantly, there's no energy to dedicate it. So usually they're very frustrated because they're having to fight for sales and they're not gaining any traction of being known as the go-to expert in their space. So if you've suffered from that in the past, that's okay. I think I can help bring you some clarity. Number 2 thing that I hear a lot is it's all about landing publicity and press, so I don't focus anywhere else. Unfortunately, a couple years ago, this was a very hot topic, publicity. People were releasing programs on how to book publicity, and they were saying that this is going to solve all of your visibility and publicity problems. Then students started getting frustrated because they put all of this money and didn't see the results they wanted. Maybe they did book a feature on Entrepreneur or Forbes or the EO Fire podcast, but it didn't really change anything for their bank account and their revenue. If you've struggled with this in the past, you're definitely not alone. It happens, and I'm sorry that it happens, but it does because people don't understand that there's a specific way to achieve things. And so they put pretty much their final investment into this last hope and then feel so frustrated and miserable that they did that. And then they give up on everything altogether. So I really want to bring you into understanding what goes when so that you can understand why this stopgap is happening. And number 3, I hear a lot, I have a great business and a visibility plan. Features are just going to find me. They're just going to find me, right? A little bit similar to number 1, but I hear this a lot. And this usually comes from well-known entrepreneurs and gurus who appear to have features and visibility that magically falls in their lap. That might happen to you. You might be that kind of a person, and if so, cling to that. Me personally, I'm not a unicorn. That never happened. So I had to work for everything I got. And I think that's really helped me teach people how to do this because it's not the magical way, right? So people like this have been taught the false confidence by who they follow and that visibility is all that matters. So even if they're the most amazing coach in the world, they usually come to me because that magic isn't happening and they want to know what the real next step strategically is. So I help show them, oh, let's position you here and let's do this here, and then things start growing. Because sales and visibility are great, but even the multi-million-dollar earners who have come to me for help have a hard time booking publicity. And that's because book publishers, huge publications, they don't really care that much about maybe you've made this many sales or maybe you have this many followers. In certain ways they do, but in a lot of ways they don't. So anyway, I could go on and on. So if there's one that you specifically relate to, I would love to know. You can chat me on Instagram. You can find me on pretty much any platform at Visibility Vixen. You can also come on over to our free group, The Visible Entrepreneur, on Facebook. Would love to hear what you think and to hear which one of those that you're struggling with. So let's move on to what exactly, Michelle, is visibility. Tell me, break it down so that I can understand exactly what it is. These are terms that I've come up with over the past couple of years, right? You're not going to find them in a dictionary, but I was one of the people that brought the word visibility to the online space in 2016 when I trademarked Visibility Vixen. No one was talking about visibility. They were talking about marketing and advertising and that kind of stuff, but not specifically the term visibility. So when I trademarked Visibility Vixen, I knew this was going to be the word of the future. I knew this was going to be very popular in our industry, but I didn't think that it would become so overused that people would say visibility when they're talking about anything, including publicity. So that's why I'm coming in here today and saying, let's clarify this, right? So in my opinion, visibility is the marketing strategy that you have in place to turn organic outreach into website traffic, subscribers, and customers. This is what you're doing strategically when you're posting on social media. And if you followed me for any amount of time, starting with a visibility vehicle like a blog, podcast, live streaming show, YouTube channel, or virtual summit, these are things that are designed to bring you traffic. And hopefully in your visibility strategy, you have a really strong funnel in place to then take that traffic and turn them into subscribers and customers. So when you're focused on visibility, it's usually for you to work on your own organic strategy to bring in that traffic and then convert them. Making sense? And this has to come before publicity because visibility is strategically about converting traffic so that you can make money. Revenue. This is why it comes first. This is why you don't run out the gate with publicity, because that may not necessarily make you revenue. We're going to talk about what publicity does next, but visibility is specifically to impact your bottom line. It has to come before publicity because there's no point in how much exposure you're getting if it's not translating into revenue, right? So that's why I start all of my students with visibility. Our first 2 stages in the lounge are all about visibility before we move into publicity, because you need clear branding, you need on-fire messaging, you need a high converting funnel, and you need a solid visibility strategy in place before you should even be thinking about booking publicity. Making sense? Okay, so let's move into what's publicity. What is it, Michelle? Tell me. I will tell you. It's just a fancy word for guest appearances. That's all it is. And every piece of it is considered publicity or press. So publicity is the next step of what you should be doing after having a solid visibility strategy in place, because this is designed to do the following. My definition of publicity is the establishing of one's authority in their niche as the go-to expert through interviews, appearances, and features on other networks, businesses, and brands. Making a little more sense? First one is about getting that traffic, getting that revenue. Now we're talking about being seen as the go-to expert and people seeing you as the authority in your chosen topic. Very big difference, right? Starting to see it now? I hope so. Publicity is the authority establisher. Traffic is a bonus from it, but it's not a necessity, and it's definitely not a guarantee. Too many entrepreneurs hang on publicity as their saving grace. They're like, this is going to be it. This is going to do everything. And then it doesn't translate into dollars, and they are so frustrated. And it's because it's not supposed to work that way. So Think about publicity in terms of guesting on stuff like podcasts, blogs, video interviews, television, articles, publications, books, events. This is all to specifically build your authority and expertise in your niche. And it has to come after visibility because traffic is a nice side effect that will convert higher because you have all the funnels in place from your visibility, blah, blah, blah. But the go-to expert status is what we are searching for here. This is what we're striving for. So you need a clear publicity strategy in place after your visibility strategy so you can continuously book opportunities to further your brand notoriety. Making sense? So that's why I teach things the way that I do. That's why when you come into the lounge or you take any of my trainings, it fits, into either category, and I take you through it strategically, because if you do the wrong thing first, like a lot of entrepreneurs, they start, they launch their book and they're like, I put all my blood, sweat, and tears into this for a year, and then nothing happens. The sales don't happen, they're not really getting featured anywhere. They're just posting on social media. They feel frustrated. It's, they put all their work into a course, but they don't have the visibility strategy in place, so it doesn't make any revenue. They have been making solid money for a couple of years, and now they're trying to book publicity, but because the right strategy isn't in place in terms of unique brand positioning, they don't book any press. So you can see how all of these things can be very frustrating, and that's why I wanted to come in today's episode and explain it to you, because especially as we're winding down to the new year, and that means we're going to have a new season of this show, I want you to have as much of this in your brain to understand so that especially over the next coming months, you can figure out like, okay, is Michelle the right mentor for me? And then actually start taking action towards those goals. Too many times we start the year off with all these wonderful plans, then we end it and we're like, what happened? And I don't want that to happen to you. So whether it's me or it's someone else that you think is amazing, make those action steps now. So I'm going to encourage you on today's episode, if you are not already a member, to jump into the Visibility Lounge. This is my signature membership that walks people through the 4 stages of visibility and publicity. So whether you're starting from scratch or you already have an established brand and are making money, you can figure out what stage you're at inside of the lounge and work from there. There are about 100 entrepreneurs in there that are just amazing people achieving amazing things. And I am so passionate about the lounge because we are focused on being leaders who serve, not just getting vanity metrics. So I hope this episode was helpful to you. If you're interested in joining the lounge, you can go to visibilityvixen.com and join there. Otherwise, shout me out on social. I will see you next week. And I'm hoping that you're feeling more confident on what visibility is versus publicity so that you can take the right steps next.